Give me just one moment. I just want to make sure I do something first, so I don't disturb anybody. There we go. Alright, that's better. There we go. There we are. Okay. So, what is good in life? To hear the lamentation of the women. The famous Conan, paraphrasing the famous Conan saying. And just wanted to bring this up because now that's what's going on in Portland. Is that everybody who ever basically there's a lot of us that we saw this kind of coming. That now Starbucks is leaving open-ended how many locations they're going to close. This is a huge deal. Where shows like The Simpsons would have jokes that there was literally just entire like stretches of Starbucks all next to each other and stuff like that. That one of the most ubiquitous coffee brands in America, one of the greatest signs of like the entire concept of the cafe culture, that sparked the left, became normal, then corporate, so that really to be on the left is now intrinsically over and over again tied to being just simply a middle-class educated corporate lackey, really, and you just agree with what all the largest corporations say, and they're tied to the Pentagon, and so it's probably just an operation being done on you. And then therefore nationalism is the future. One of the things that I'm now, it's lamentable, but I just have to say, what I have to do is I have to really embrace Dark Maga Skeletor. It really is. There's these moments where I'm like, they have burnt down Eternia. It's just, I mean, winning, I don't understand how. So here's one of the more interesting things. Okay, so I'm just so aghast now at the levels of like, no, but this is one thing, we saw this coming. People like me saw this coming. Also, we're thinking, but no, that's like a cyberpunk dystopia. Like that's what happens in this in the fiction future, in the super future of a cyberpunk in the future history of a cyberpunk dystopia, like Cyberpunk the RPG 2020. Like Portland is doing what you would expect so that you could have that background. That now you have residents of Portland crying on the news that there's just nobody to defend them against the raging drug addict men. Women are afraid to leave their homes at night for any reason in a normal residential neighborhood because homeless men on super drugs are screaming out loud. So this is the beautiful part about where the left is at now. And where Rose City Antifa and all people like that, where you really are, where your heart really is that you're like, she needs to understand him. She needs to change. She, with the vagina and the two X chromosomes. Because this is not about women anymore and feminism. Because feminism doesn't exist anymore. Because now you can be a boy and then become a man and then just say you're a chick and that's all it takes. You're now a woman. Because that's all it takes to be a woman. Is you could be a dude and just say, I'm a woman now. And that's it. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's all really a woman is anything a man defines it as. Go! 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 Yes, I must enter the peaceful Buddha realm of winning. You've delivered it to me. I don't understand I kind of get it, but it's also, I'm like, did you mean to fail this hard? Now, this is the beautiful part, too. I just want to really let this part, just as in the original Dune movie, a work completely unto itself, no matter the books or not, it totally unto itself, the slow blade penetrates the shield. This is what's really up, Rose City Antifa and all you anti-fascists of Oregon. You're so brave when you attack in a pack. You've got no honor. Can't scrap a lick. You can't scrap a lick. You're busters. You're busters. And you can't defend your women. Like in the country, they can. These good old boys, they can defend their women. You guys can't. You live in Portland. The women of your community, the real place where you live, where you say, I'm Rose City, motherfucker, what, I got tattoos saying it. I'm a motherfucking tough guy. I got tattoos all over my fucking self. So it's like, yeah, okay. But your women can't leave the home at night. Ethnic minorities are the most likely to die in your city. In a city that only 5 years prior, that was almost scarcely the case. How are your mortuaries even handling all this shit? Holy shit. Your mortuaries must be Musgrove or Musgrave, whatever. That motherfucker must be busy as fuck. He's still even in business. I bet those people sold. I bet Musgrave sold. I bet they sold to like a super corporation. Because they were just like, dude, this is the time to just cash out. Yeah, actually, if I think about it, because the death rate of people by demographics, because the right knows about demographics and knows about the demographic wave that's hitting us now, that the left is now figuring out. So it kind of makes some sense. I got to think about that a bit. But anyway, now you are facing you are facing now a demographic issue of a whole bunch of people that they thought they were going to live as long-term residents in Portland, and they wanted to grow old and raise their children there, but now they're not sure if they could go out at night to play the disc golf, if they could go to all these places, because there might be some guy cracked out on the super hubba rocks, and there's no police to do anything about it. And that you can't, that at this stage, both Seattle and Portland are now at the point that it would take, there is estimates from people who are really in the field, are like, you will need at this stage, if you were to hire absolutely to the requisite number, what is required, you have this number of humans in the city, you need this many police. There's kind of a formula to it that you would, to get to the requisite, it would still take you another 10 years for those people to get into it, get good. Because of how this is a professional skill level. This is a professional skill when done correctly. Law enforcement is a professional skill. Investigation is a professional thing. People don't get that. You have to type things up in detail, and there's all this stuff to it, and you're fucked now. And it's not really this idea of like, oh yeah, oh now we're gonna be living in gangsta's paradise. No, it's that little kids will start getting shot. It'll start becoming more and more like Detroit and Chicago. That like people will hide in their bathtubs. Like children will grow up thinking having gunfire as a norm, somebody dying as a norm, junkies everywhere as a norm. That is what you have bequeathed them. That's what the revolution always bequeaths people. It bequeaths people work camps. It bequeaths them thugs. Always thugs. People are never honest about that. That's what the revolution always depends upon. Is getting involved with organized crime or various thuggish groups and making them roll people in the name of this, that, or the other cause. So I was thinking actually a little while ago, the left did not think of itself in its proper form as a mass movement. And as a mass movement, there's certain things that you have to understand at that point. You have made your decision about your mass movement, and your mass movement must then follow its natural logical course. Well, just the things like the battles of Berkeley, you mapped out your course. Really, it started with the Trump Chicago rally raid and shutting down Trump in Chicago. That's where you really made your decision that you were going to start now becoming openly coercive. And the media made its decision that it was going to support you. And that's it. There's nothing else. No Antifa, no we're this and we're that. No. This has happened in American history. This has happened before. People who are the real deal working class, we have a library of books, that we were raised with a bookshelf with books. You know, that kind of background, you will know things about the Democratic Party. You'll know things about the history of Chicago. And so it's like, I knew that. You know, no. The Democrats, this is the bailiwick of the Democrats. People want to believe the Democrats are too snazzy for violence, but they're the first, always, in the history of the United States to consistently go toward getting a bunch of fucking thugs to disguise themselves and pull shit off. They're like notorious for it. And so yeah. And so now it's this thing of that, well, no, you're just doing what you always do because you don't really understand. You never really changed from the old party. You're still backed by the same corporate barons. And if you're Antifa, the Democrats, you are obviously their armed wing. I mean, even you must understand now how obviously you're their armed wing. And then all they do is kind of placate you and sort of shine you on and stuff. And then Luis gets to pose with Keith Ellison. Ooh. You know, some guy who everything about him is double up super crazy. You know, he's this diminutive, manlet, black Muslim gay guy, you know, in the Democratic Party. It's just like, okay, so you don't fit in anywhere. You're a super mutant. Okay, got it. No wonder you're hanging out with Luis of fucking Rose City Antifa. But you guys have just fucked up. And this is the beautiful part, is I don't have to be like, oh, well, yeah, cause, yeah, I'm the shit. Oh, fuck you. Oh, right wing, America first. I don't know. You guys have just delivered it. We knew this would happen. Somebody like me, I just have to, I've had a unique experience now. There was first Zen and Taoism in my life, after Catholicism, and then I looked back into history and I started to really understand some things about the history of then Catholicism, and I was, what's up with Protestants, and what's up with this idea of disinterestedness, and what's it, and then I understood the idea of then Aquinas, and this is the idea of Christian warfare and spiritual warfare, and this is the key elements of it. Not telling you guys, and I realized, I'm like, no, none of these leftists are doing this key thing. That's not just key to warfare in general, but it's key to especially spiritual warfare. They don't get it. You just don't get it. You don't get humans. You don't understand humans. And it makes sense. I mean, you're Marxists at your essence, and so it makes sense. You don't understand humans. You because you have no wisdom. You have no living memory of humans, that somebody passed on aphorisms and passed on stories in a way that you could understand a living perspective, and you don't have that, because then you don't have understanding, where you can weave that together with then facts you've learned about the world in your own life, and then form it into words, where you could describe somebody else's points of view and many other people's points of view, and how you have fused them through your own experience. You can't really do that. Can't really do that. That's why so many of you come across as kind of weirdos. It's intensely weird people. You have no wisdom, so you can't have really understanding of the world. Now, there's some people who are going to be like, uh-oh, whoa, no, I know, I know that shit. I'm on that level. But that's the thing, is without an understanding of people in the past, and especially understanding your own, even definitively, things about fascism, like that's one that's really sad about, Vaush, Hassan, all these people are supposed to be kind of leading the left in thought, even though they're kind of lol cows, because they're obviously kind of soft wimpy boys, of their, typical of liberals of their generation. That these people who they can't really even define fascism, and then when you start to discuss it with them, that the people like this, they can't handle when you start to communicate that you know more factually about the historical fascists than they do. The left really hates that. The left really hates that, and they hate that how you can then separate it firmly from the thinking of the religious. Like say the Orthodox, and why people. There's something actually I thought about. The left and people left of center, they have misgivings about religion, and it in kind of how the state in America, the state had what was called an accommodation. So what it was is that the state did what the state does, the churches do what the churches do. It wasn't a separation of the two. It wasn't some strict separation. This is just some kind of way that people have interpreted a quote. It was really that the state knew that people formed church groups and churches. So there was things that they left to the people in that regard that were social, because that was how people organized naturally in the Western society, in Western civilization. And even people might be, at that time. And it's like, yeah, but you don't organize in any way now. Not really. None of you really organize in a way that, I mean, like, you have multi-generational, something that delivers for multiple generations, where it's like church groups deliver for multiple generations, you know, and yeah, and that's who gives to the poor. When you look at who gives to the poor, people giving to the poor are typically church groups. That's where the stats have been clear on this for now, I think, 30, 40 years. Okay. So the left has to deal with this issue of, if I think about the principles of the Christian faith, I don't really understand how they can really agree with the Democratic vote. That is true. That is true. Every religion has its way that it kind of comes up with tiers or recognizes social tiers. And that there's certain reasons why somebody, and then there will be examples from the history. So what was written down of the past, typically, in relationship to its religious writings of their past, and they'll cite that as this is why you would then have taxes or this, that, or the other. Everyone wants to think everyone would be very reasonable and rational. They would cite history, because that's actually what you do, because that is wisdom, prudentia. That is the living memory of humans, is that we wrote it down. Good thing we wrote it down. So it was really a talk between, I think it was Jay Dyer and Imam Hussein, if I remember right, is where I saw this, was that he was saying that, he goes, yes, both Islam and Orthodox Christianity sort of can't agree with a republic. By their structure, by everything about it, their principles, they can't agree with such a form of governance. But they must accommodate that the state will be good. They just sort of have to have a faith that the state will be good in a republic. They don't really have a choice, but it's also there is a degree to which it has to be kind of to accommodate that the state will do what the state will do. And where, I mean, it is really like, I mean, where a certain percentage of the society can vote to burn your churches down. And this has become clear in Canada, that, I mean, they just can't seem to figure out how to not keep churches from being burned down. No, not synagogues, churches. Because that's not a thing in the Americas. People going and destroying all the synagogues. It's just not a thing in the Americas. Maybe somewhere in South America at some point. Maybe. So, that's why whenever you hear especially weird organizations talk about, the fascism, and no, what it is, it's this horrible fear that people have, that what will the Christians do when they figure out that at certain points they're going to just have to tell certain people, no, doing this is wrong. And so this is the issue with Portland, is Portland is widely kind of this end of the society. It's this place that, it's, you know, the West Coast is the left coast, and so a lot of people aren't into the traditions of religion and their ancient traditions, and so they're like, well, how you won't be able to tell people that, you can't do that because it's wrong. You won't be able to do that anymore. You can't. It's going to take you 10, 15 years. You're going to have to suddenly fire everybody in your government, and like everyone. You will literally have to replace all the attorneys, like all the way down. You know, like all the way to the lowest levels. You'll have to replace all kinds of people. You'll have to erase whole departments, whole sections of services. Just erase them. Then you have to fight judges, because they'll be like, oh no, you have to be able to, you have to have this department that's specially
takes a look at all the bathrooms to make sure that they're okay and safe spaces for drug use. It's right here. It's obviously right.
And you're gonna have to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court. Be beautiful. You'll be burning tremendous amounts of money just to make your where you live safe for children. And also, then you have to pray your enrollment stays up. 4J has said you don't have to read and write and arithmetic for you to graduate. I mean, like, it just, I mean, that's one of those things that you actually are sitting there kind of going, so is this really like highfalutin liberals trying to placate, like, what they think are the kind of white people who live in Oregon? But then they say this is to help people of color. And I'm like, black people are only like 2 or 3% of the population of Oregon. So obviously they're talking about Native Americans and what? Latinos? Hispanic people? Like, for real? Like, for real? Like, you don't have to be able to add. You don't have to know English. Shit. You don't have to know that shit. I mean, I'm like, holy crap. And so it's just, good work. I mean, good work. Just good fucking work. Good fucking work. You have thoroughly now screwed the pooch. And so now the beautiful part is, then there's this. This is the slope. This is what it was. BlackRock wasn't buying everything up. Why would they buy at the top of the market? A guy went into this. He went into, like, look at this is they declare what they buy. You can trade the company. They declare what they buy. So they weren't buying stuff. Soon, BlackRock will start buying everything. And everything is about to get a whole lot cheaper for very rich people. So you literally rioted yourself right into getting owned by fundamentally, like, the equivalent to, like, there's the Pentagon, the big banks, and then there's these kind of people who own land. You literally just sold. That's amazing. And to pull this off, it required a huge sacrifice of stupid black people. I just wanted to point that out. There's no way around that. There's no way around it. People playing stupid games, winning the stupidest of prizes, and then there's all these people who were totally normal people who got killed during all these riots. And I just, there's this part of me that I hope this, as you think this through, as you're thinking like, God damn it, fuck this guy, huh? And it's like, yeah, it's going to get worse. But the beautiful part is, at some point people will have somebody to blame, and it will be you. It will be you that they'll blame. It'll be Luis that they'll blame. They're not gonna. You've tried too hard with the Proud Boys. Obviously, people aren't suckers. They aren't the marks. Oh, they're not the marks. They're the people who took the money and moved it out of Rose City, and they're living someplace else now with their offspring. And when they talk about you and talk about their friends, they say now that, yeah, everything's closed there now, and people just shoot up drugs and are meth raging on all the corners. There's not even a 7-Eleven to be found anymore. I know it's not that bad. But, to know that it's, you see, BlackRock's going to buy them, and for those of you who you are really punk rock, you're really punk rock, go to the store that sells, go to the supermarket, and go and buy one of their combos that you remember. Like one of the ones that comes with like fried potatoes. Some that comes with like fried chicken. Something like that. Comes with like a side of a salad. How much does it cost? How much does that cost? I bet you won't remember what it did cost, but you will know it didn't cost that. And you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be saying, how does a normal person, when I was wearing a butt flap with a gutter band across it, and I was, jumping off a train dirty as fuck, in Portland, and I was able to get like at least 4 pieces of chicken and some Pabst for under $10. Can you get 4 pieces of fried chicken and a Pabst in Portland for under $10? Just can't. I don't know, but I'm thinking very likely that's maybe 9 something. If you bring your own bag to the store, they don't charge you for the bag. I don't know if they do that there. I bet they do though. It's gonna get worse, and they're gonna blame you. And you're not getting younger. None of you are getting younger who are a part of all that. You're not getting prettier. You're not getting younger. The drugs are fucking you people up. Every once in a while I see some pictures of some of y'all. Drugs, not good, not good. Anyway, I just thought I would just put that out there. And a lot of people in the Northwest, you're gonna. I really feel for you, because what I know about normal prices of things, I've seen some adjustments to prices that I mean this is that's not a small amount of money. That's not small at all. That's not small amounts of money. For something to damn near $7 is not a small leap. So, good luck, everybody out there. May God bless you all in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And there's a whole lot of you who, if you got an opportunity, like I kept telling you for years, fucking talk. Go to a source. Go to fucking Project Veritas. Fucking talk while you can, before there's a whole bunch of elections, or before at some point your own paymasters see a good reason to throw you to the fucking wolves. And now I'm already hearing about some federal investigations that are asking some questions about Antifa that's got you all hot under the collar, and then you all decided to start something with bikers. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's when of any group of people, like they're like kind of the ultimate, one of those things that like, it's like if you were in a video game. If life was a video game, they're like this force. They're like this character thing. It's like, no, that thing's so high level that only if you mess with it will it do anything back to you, and it pretty much just insta-kills you, like, but you lose all your shit. Like, you lose every coin, every star, all your potions, everything. You lose it all. One shot. And there's this part of me just like, damn, y'all must be fucking crazy as hell to try to, and I knew eventually you would have to do something like that. I even said it back in the day. You guys want to play gangster. You want to play fucking gangster. And you don't understand the ramifications of when finally somebody realizes they need to fuck with you, or else they can't. Yeah, in the game of power, they have to fuck with you now. And there'll be criminals. There'll be people who you really need to worry about. Not Proud Boys, who are relatively normal guys in a fraternity that protects old ladies from you guys at rallies. Holy shit. Idiots. Fucking idiots. And I can't... You've ruined a city that was like a pearl. It was a gem. And I mean, like, I love that there's even a sitcom about Portland. That people will look back and they'll be like, oh, what the... I don't get it. And, you know, because the culture will be so different at a certain point. And it's over about the next 5 years. But we'll see. Because who knows how investment is going to work over the next 5 years. Who knows how investment is going to work over the next 5 years. One-story buildings. One-story businesses. Yeah, these people are trying to sell. If they own a building and it's 1 story tall and it has a business in it, that they want to sell that building. If they're in Seattle, if they're in Portland, it is quiet, but they're trying to unload. There's people trying to unload their buildings, quietly trying to unload their buildings. The legacy ones that are bigger, made of stone, they got columns, that's a different story. But the places that just have little shops in them, the ones that are more recently built, they're trying to unload them. You fucked up. Now people don't want their money near you. They don't want their kids near you. And now people are like, they're trapped. They're trapped. They're locked in Portland with you. I mean, who wants to live like that? I mean, you do.